All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Dom Tischer. I'm here with my good friend Dustin Schaefer. And the thing that we're going to discuss today on our webinar is depression. And what are some of the things that are out there that can kind of help people overcome some of the symptoms that deal with depression? And we're going to talk primarily about the low carb, high fat diet where our bodies are producing ketones and how ketones can help us out. So Dustin and I were actually just having a sidebar conversation about depression and his outlook on it, and I thought it was really good. And I'm going to throw him on the spot. But Dustin, can you kind of repeat what you just told me about depression and your view on it?
Yeah, absolutely, Dom. I find that, I think at every level, everybody goes through some form of depression. I think that, I would definitely say there's times in my life where emotionally I was not in that joyful stage. If it's, it could be something as simple as not a traumatic event, but maybe a life happening event. If it's passing of a loved one or even an animal who I lost a year and a half ago, and it put me in a state of mind that just where joy was not as received, or I wasn't feeling the joy as much as I once was. And I look back on that, I say, was I depressed? And I would say at some level I was. And it really becomes when that depression starts to really negatively impact everything else in your life, is when it becomes this, what we believe, I think, in our modern world is what depression is, or what it's defined about. And although I do believe it as a natural part of life, it's when it becomes excessive in life where it seems to be the definition that we believe today to be.
Sure. And so a lot of times what I've seen is, when we watch these movies and we see like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, right? you got these people that are way over the top. And then you have some people that are just severely depressed. And from a personal story of mine, I was diagnosed with severe depression for different reasons, right? And I just couldn't get out of my own way. But I think what caused it just to escalate and compound on itself was one, it just zapped all the energy out of me. I didn't have that mental clarity. I didn't have any energy. I didn't have any will or desire to really do anything. And so I think when a lot of people are dealing with depression, it just compounds on itself. And it almost feels like there's nothing else, right? So, and that's why so many people feel helpless. It's like, well, this is what I'm stuck with. I'm going to have to take this, or that to make me feel better. But in reality, it just makes you like a zombie, and it's real upsetting. And I think it's important that we discuss this particular topic on alternative ways of how our bodies can kind of overcome this, because so many people that I've spoken to, and so many people that I'm sure that you've spoken to that have dealt with depression, it's almost embarrassing, right? It's like we have to admit, especially for a guy like me, right? You look back here, I have guns. I'm a retired Army guy, and it's pretty challenging for me to come out and say, look, I was depressed. I was diagnosed with it. I was taking this, and that for it. To me, it made me feel like maybe I wasn't as tough as maybe I should be as a man of the house. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that feel that way. And so I think it's really important that we talk about this.
And about that, Dom, I agree, because I think I relate to that, and I think a lot of people out there are. I mean, I think that, and both sides, not just men and women, I think we have this high expectation of ourselves, but I would say I see it more in my practice from the male side of it. I see more men that will hide it, and it becomes, you can almost see it in them, but they'll do everything they can to overcome it. And one of the things I like to, give people the analogy of, of a form of depression is, when you look up, symptoms of it, it's quite evident that a lot of people have some level of these symptoms, but it's almost like you have that 1,000 pounds on your back and you're walking around every day and everything seems harder than it should be. Even just smiling sometimes seems like work, or cooking a dinner, or, going out and trying to enjoy your day. And that was my big challenge. I used to have to fake my smile because I knew I was supposed to be, but I didn't. Like, you kind of just fake it because it's supposed to be what you're doing, but it was all inside of me just thinking about it. And I think that's why the topic that we're going to discuss today is so vital, because it's like that weight slowly being pulled off. And if we can take it off faster, people then, we can come along and maybe impact their life better before, that weight starts to pile back on.
Right. And it's so funny that you say that you had to fake it, because and this is a little personal, but I used to go to a counselor with my wife, and my wife, she's a saint in my book, but they told me to fake compassion. I had no compassion. If somebody hurt themselves, I'd be like, so what, kind of chuckle, but I was just emotionally numb. And I think you're right. It's just this huge weight. But what I want to do right now is I want to go ahead and bring up what symptoms of depression are. And we're going to do this from WebMD. So let me know if you can see it.
Okay. We're on.
Okay, cool. All right. So as you can see right here, right, you got difficulty in concentrating or remembering details and making decisions, right? I mean, that's huge on the day-to-day life. If you just can't concentrate, you're not very effective at work. You're not very effective at home. You have fatigue and decreased energy, and that plays into the difficulty in concentrating, right? Feelings of guilt, hopelessness, insomnia, irritability, restlessness, loss of interest, overeating, right? So then we start getting fat, and I used to joke around all the time with my wife is, I'm getting fat because, I'm depressed, so I emotionally eat, and then now I'm even depressed more, so I just go back to eating. It was comfort eating. But that's the truth, right? And persistent sad, just being persistently sad or anxious, and then thoughts of suicide, and that's really sad right there. So anyway, this was off WebMD. It's nothing special. Anybody can go find it. But so those are some of the symptoms, right? And the last couple of webinars that we had, we were talking about PTSD, and PTSD being this umbrella that covers all these things. And a lot of it has with depression, the anxiety, the fatigue, all this other stuff. So with that being said, now that we had identified what some of the symptoms are of depression, now that we identified those things, what do you think we can do to kind of to help others and help ourselves in these times to overcome this?
Well, what we've been noticing in over the last 9 months, and I think there's research out much longer that around this idea of ketones as a fuel source for the brain, and maybe even more of a primary fuel source of the brain. And the question would be is, how do we get ketones in our body? And if we go back in time, it's kind of interesting. When in the early 1900s, actually, when kids had epileptic seizures, and people are like, why are you talking about epilepsy, I guess, in depression? But it's really fascinating from a scientific perspective, because what happened is if they took these kids and gave them ketones, and they had to do it through dietary means. So basically they went on a ketogenic diet. And what a ketogenic diet is, an extremely high fat diet. Nearly 90 to 95% of their caloric intake would be from fat. And almost zero to no carbs and very little protein. And these kids' seizures were often stopped, and quite often stopped. And if they stayed in that state long enough, their brain would potentially stop seizing and they could live a normal life. So this was a medical-based diet. And what ended up happening when they did this diet, one of the things that increased, and not that we have to get too scientific here, but GABA in the brain. GABA is a neurotransmitter in the brain that actually relaxes the mind. It calms down the body. And what's really fascinating about that is that's one of the things they would use to help, get seizures down. So if the mind was relaxed, the mind wouldn't go into a seizing standpoint, and it would basically turn the brain down, let's say, and they would stop. Well, what's really cool about GABA is, think about this: if your mind was more relaxed, your body would be more relaxed. Almost like things just wouldn't bother you as much. So I think that's what's really cool and how this really started. The research started back nearly 100 years ago. And then they started looking at research with bipolar and schizophrenia and using the same ketogenic diet. Now, ketones, just so you know, are when your body eats your own body fat like what people did an Atkins diet, or if you ever watched Survivor and they didn't eat for, a few weeks, they're basically got really skinny, and their body would eat their fat, and that eating of your fat and metabolizing of your fat turns into ketone bodies. And that ketone is then absorbed as a fuel source and can be uptaken into the brain and into the muscle tissue and into the body very, very well. So what we're finding is that when the brain is under stress or under trauma, ketones become a much primary fuel source for that brain. And therefore, not only is it giving the brain energy, but it's also relaxing the mind. And I think that with all that research on, Dom, it's pretty special why these ketones can be valuable to helping somebody with maybe depression and other issues like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. So first, let's just point out the obvious, right? So you spoke about the ketogenic diet, which this diet is notorious for being very difficult to follow, right? But once you got it, right? So this is something that can be taught. And over the last, I don't know, it's been 3 or 4 days that we've been together, we spoke about this a lot, and you use this excellent analogy of, flying to Hawaii, right? People will start the diet and they get halfway there, but then they get discouraged or they just don't see the benefits or the results. So they turn around halfway. So they never get to the end stage. They never get to see that happy place, that more energy where they're not as, in this case, depressed or relaxed or, even for the weight loss. So they just kind of give up and turn around and go back to the old ways of eating more of this crap, right? Glucose, carbohydrates, and the sugars. And so the interesting thing is, and you're an advisor for the company, and I'm with the company, but we have this neat little thing right here, right? I like using Michael Rutherford's word, the elixir, right? It almost makes me sound smart. It's a $2 word, but when I say it, it's like a $10 word. So this nice little tasty elixir, right? Tastes like orange creamsicle, and this elevates your blood ketone levels. Am I right, or am I missing something?
You are basically, using that same analogy. I always tell people, if you can't get to Hawaii, you don't really get to enjoy it. And the diet's kind of the same way. That's why it was a medical-based diet. Now, people have gotten to some level of ketosis with low carbs, but not typically to the point where they can truly enjoy and relax Hawaii. And now we have this ability. About 9 months ago or so, we rolled out this product, and we can give people basically what it feels like to be in Hawaii without leaving, without actually getting on the flight. And I like to say, if I can give you what it's like to be in Hawaii, it'll be really easy for me to get you there, if that's what you even need. Some people don't even need to go there to get the benefit of this sensation or being in ketosis. And the product that you're talking about is called Ketosis. It's something that the University of South Florida did a lot of research on the use of these exogenous ketones, meaning the ketones that you drink versus the one that you diet through and get. And the benefits from the cognitive benefits and the body benefits that has came into the research for the Navy SEALs. And we can now drink a therapeutic level of ketones, which, I've been teaching a high fat, low carb diet, a low carb diet lifestyle to many, many people over the last 15 years. And very few people get that deep into ketosis. Very few people really get to Hawaii. A lot of people get part way, and a lot of people never leave just because the thought of doing it's impossible. And so now we can just give it to them. This is actually what it looks like. We can just give it to them, and they can drink it and be in that state and get those benefits of ketones without doing the really challenging diet all the time.
Right, and I find that interesting. I'm super passionate about this. Not so much the diet part, but I've been changing, right? So I was able to see Hawaii. I got to experience that in this analogy, right, of ketosis. And it really helped me. And this might be a little sidetrack, but I like sharing it because I think it's pretty powerful for other people that are struggling from similar things. And like I was talking to somebody today, they just felt hopeless. Mm-hmm. And so when I was introduced to this product, I was at that stage. I couldn't get out of my own way. I napped all the time, like a full-time job. People chuckle at that, but it's the truth. If I could get a promotion at napping, I'd be the CEO of Napville. It was horrible. I couldn't get out of my own way. I just had no energy. I didn't have the mental energy or the focus or the concentration. But you know, I had the traumatic brain injuries too. But all these things just compounded. But one of the greatest things is when my friend Brian, pretty much told me, he's like, here, take these. They're my last ones. I try to give it back, and he's like, no, take them. And I took it the next day, and man, it opened up my eyes, and I really enjoyed Hawaii, if you will. I enjoyed what the ketones did, because that first day was the first day that I didn't nap. I was so much more productive. I was full of energy and just clear-headed, but it wasn't that jittery energy, right? Like you get from, I don't know, some caffeinated drinks like Monsters or Red Bulls or anything like that. It was just a nice, clear, calm energy. And, you know, now that you say it, I never really think about it until somebody mentions it. I was just more relaxed. I was more mellow. I just felt better. And for me, that was like instantaneous of me just taking one serving of Keto West. Now, you know, there were times I stumbled and fell and kind of digressed a little bit, but I stayed true to it. I took it every day, and every day has been just getting better and better. And so I think it's important for people to know that there are other opportunities, other options, right? And so once we get to Hawaii, as you eloquently put it, and you let people experience the benefit and whatnot, then we could start really curtailing the diet, because if we can't get it out of our own way, who says I'm going to stop eating all those Oreos? That's what made me feel good. That at least that's what I thought, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and people use food often, you know, and they don't realize, you know, I use these three main things, actually two main ones. Is that the first time people drink alcohol, or the first time that people drink coffee, they rarely ever like it. It's almost always bad. But then over time, it's an acquired taste. Well, that acquired taste is actually a reward in their brain. It's making them happy. And so when you fulfill that reward with something else, you know, often it's that reward, that reward for those other things aren't as much, or they're not as enjoyable. And I'm hearing that now, been, you know, implementing this product across the nation, is people are like, you know, I just don't even feel like drinking as much, or I don't feel like that coffee doesn't taste the same. And I know some of you are going, oh, but I love my coffee. But I think at the end of the day, you're going to love feeling really good more. It doesn't mean you can't have coffee. It's just, you may not get that same enjoyment out of it, because you're always feeling that enjoyment. That enjoyment's continuous. It's not something that's just being added in. And, you know, and I think that's what's really cool about this is, you know, I think just the stories that we've gotten over the last 9 months, you know, because I've always teach the diet, and that's the only thing I had prior to this product being available. Now it's like, man, I can affect and help so many people, because if you take somebody that's depressed and I ask them to change their diet, my likelihood for success is virtually non-existent, right? It's virtually not going to happen, even though it might be the thing that makes them feel the best. It's just that it's asking them to climb Mount Everest in the worst time of their life, in the worst shape they've ever been. Well, that just seems stupid, right? Let's just start with one hill. But unfortunately, that one hill is not going to give them that reward that they would need. But now we have that ability to add something that can really impact them and put them on the top of Everest, let them look at, you know, the view, and then go, all right, I get it. You know, and Dom, I think the one other component of this is, you know, I'm truly passionate about the science and the product. And if you have any thoughts around this, just Google, you know, ketones and about anything, any problem, any disorder, any issues, including depression or traumatic brain injuries or PTSD, and you're going to see some really extraordinary research. But I also believe that we should touch on a little bit on the community, because I think that when you bring that in, you know, and you and I both are openly talk about going to counseling, both of us being military guys, myself being, you know, a former Marine, and you're an Army, and I won't hold that against you in any way, but you know, cool that you were. Thanks for serving. But you know, we openly talk about that we went to counseling because we really wanted to improve our lives, but yet it was hard because when your brain's not working well, if you're not focused well and your mind's not working well, that counseling just gets, it actually makes it harder, I think, because you feel like you're failing at something that you should be, you actually are trying to do better at. But I think the community around this, something that you and I have been working on just through these webinars and these videos and the people that are watching them. I mean, the thousands of people that are jumping on these things, that starts the community, but then prove it. And the Ketosis community, I think, is also really powerful. And kind of give me an idea, you know, I know that I came out and visited you last week and, you know, just some of the things that had changed. You know, you drove the furthest you had driven since then. And I think that might have been partly because of the community. So just kind of touch on that just a little bit.
Yeah. So, like you said, you came out. My wife is my caregiver. That's how bad it was, right? I would forget where I'm going. I would have road rage and all these other issues. So I just didn't drive. And then next thing I know, you show up in Louisville, Kentucky, and you need a ride. So, but the thing is I had started driving locally, which was great, and I had been working up to it. But driving from where I live in Hodgenville, Kentucky, it's about 45 minutes south of Louisville. And driving up there, that was my first time driving up there by myself, or driving period, up there in it was about 4 years. Wow. Right. So I was just more calm in the traffic, right? Because I was diagnosed with severe PTSD. It is what it is, right? And so it was really challenging when you would have panic attacks or just anxiety or visual fatigue from looking at everything, right? So I definitely felt that calmness when I drove and picked you up. As a matter of fact, well, I drove the whole time you were here, right? And we covered quite a bit of distance.
Yeah, we did.
You know, and it was really cool for me, and it was a good experience for me because I always felt like, you know, I wasn't as much of a man as I should be, right? Because I had these issues, or at least that's the way I felt. But, you know, what was really cool is we were doing these mixers, right? Going to talk to people and share experiences and help people understand the power of what we have right here. I'm actually drinking it right now. It's 11:50 at night, and I'm drinking this ketone or this ketone elixir, Ketosis, right, before I go to bed, right, because it helps calm me. But it's going out there helping other people, and then talking and listening to other people that experience these same things, and how everybody, the community that you just brought up, how they're so supportive, right? And I think this community that Prove It, yourself, myself, Michael Rutherford, Brian Underwood, have, and so many other people that are developing, is really taking place. And I speak to our veterans out there, right? Because we get out of the military. Some of us get out of the Girl Scouts. That would be cool. And we get out, and then we lose everything that was near and dear to us, or at least that's the way we feel, right? So we were in this tight-knit community in the military. We knew we could depend on people, and now we're out in the civilian world. And I think that just compounds on the different symptoms of PTSD and depression. But here we're building this community where people care about each other, where people have support from other people that have similar backgrounds. And I think that's really crucial. And it's not just for veterans, but it's for anybody, right? So if people are looking to lose weight, there's a lot of people in this community that are there to support them, encourage them, and all this other stuff, or just to be better in general. And that's really cool, and that's really special about this company. And I really enjoy it. I enjoy the community. It's really cool. So yeah, I had a huge experience with this product, with Ketosis. It's helped me a lot. It helps a lot of people with a lot of different things. And that's a really cool thing. Like you said, all you have to do is Google ketones and whatever, and the research is there. And that's pretty awesome. I mean, that's really awesome and really cool. Yeah. So go ahead.
It really is, and you and I both had personal experiences. For me, after 8 o'clock at night, I just, I was grumpy. I've had a lot of major medical injuries or injuries that require medical attention and inflammation and all these other things. And, when your body just feels better, when your mind's relaxed, relationship with my wife has improved dramatically. I know you personally and your family, your wife and your relations have improved. Your relationship with your kids have improved. And the stories I get, there's a couple stories that really are big to me is, well, right when we first started the company and we started, using this product, I was at a lady's house and she asked me, why do you think you're here? And I said, I don't know, teach you about ketones and how the benefits of them. She's like, nope. She's like, see that guy over there? She put it in her son. And she said, he was a jerk. Now, keep in mind, she used words she used a much different word. And until 3 weeks ago. And she's like, I truly believe he's the guy I always thought he could be. I'm like, that's coming from his mom, right? Like, at first I was like, really? Did that just happen? Like, honestly, I knew I felt better, but that was pretty bold. And then they just started coming in. My son is the guy that I knew he could always be from another person. The one that got me the most, the one that really impacted me the most is when the son called me about his dad. His son's 35, 36 years old, said the dad's new wife was put him on the Ketosis, had him drink it, lost a few pounds. The son came over to the dad's house and it was like, he's like, I could talk to him. There was a conversation. So over the next few weeks, they developed a relationship. They started talking, they started going to hang out, and he called me up and he just thanked me. He just said, hey, I want to thank you so much for giving that opportunity to me, for my dad to finally be the person he always wanted to be. I don't know if the dad was depressed. I don't know really what the dad was. I had never met the dad before, but all I do know is it was able to change something inside of him, maybe just to be relaxed. Maybe he was in his own way for whatever reason. And now that relationship was able to be developed, which they both want it. It's not like they didn't want it. They both wanted it, but it was just that these things were in the way. And for whatever reason, they calmed down, the mind relaxed, the body relaxed. And so bygones were bygones. I don't even know the whole story. It was just true raw emotions that happened. And these are the stories that I hear continuously. And it's all really around this conversation of the pursuit of being better. I think we all want to be better. I think we're all looking to be better in some way. And what I know from all the science that I've looked into, the doctors that I talk to and the researchers that I'm working with, is that ketones are extremely special. We have a receptor site in nearly every cell of our body that wants them. Our bodies are starving to some extent. Our brains may be starving to some extent. And people just I always tell people, at least experience it, take 30 days and experience it, because most of you are not going to fly to Hawaii on your own because the diet doesn't get you. It's just hard. I can do it. I've done it. I know it's not tough, and it's easy to go. It's easy to get there and then jump back off really quick and not really even get to experience the greatness of it all. So I do encourage people to just experience that, because who knows, maybe you're depressed and you think you're not. I don't know. I didn't think I was depressed, and I started taking this, and it was quite evident that I'm way happier now than I was prior. So.
Yeah, and that's awesome. It's really special to hear the testimonies of people and how it affects them. Because I have a similar one with my son that you heard when you were here, and I don't like talking about it because then I get emotional, because it breaks my heart of how horrible I was, and my wife is when she tells it, it kills me. So I don't really like to delve into that too much, because then I'll be a big old marshmallow, right? Just soften but before I never cared, and I wouldn't get emotional, but now I do, and I value that, and I cherish that, because there's been so many years that it wasn't like that at all. But I think you touched on something that was really important. Now we offer Ketosis in a 3-day sample pack. But forget the 3-day sample pack, right? Because if you want a sample pack, that's cool if you want to taste it. But I think so many people are expecting miracles on a 3-day pack. And I think, like you said, hey, give it a shot for 30 days. Take it every day for 30 days. Make it part of your protocol, part of your regimen for 30 days at a minimum. I mean, as the longer I was on the product, the better I felt, and the greater the results that I got from it. So I think most definitely a minimum of 30 days is what you owe to yourself and to your family if you're dealing with some of these symptoms. Wouldn't you agree?
I really do. I think it's really important that you do. When I first started this, I told everybody commit to 3 months. And I realized not everybody maybe financially wants to or was willing to, or just like, I don't know. But at least 30 days, at least. And from people that have had traumatic brain injuries, everybody, you can do your research all you want. But, you and I know we both use a double serving. We do 2 servings twice a day. So we actually use 60 servings a month because of our past, because we realized that some days we were together and it was cold and rainy and sitting in the car all day. And we both get out and we're kind of like, we just weren't feeling as good. It was in the late afternoon. We'd already have our serving in the morning and we're like, okay, it's time to kind of refuel back up. And the reason why is, we both have been through the ringer in a lot of ways and we could tell. And so it's valuable to us because our relationship with our kids, our family, and we want to just feel better. It's there. But, so some of you may want to use more, but at least I say at least do 30 days. And if you're really, bold and you want to commit to 3 months, I think that's great. And we're going to help coach you along the way. It's not like something you do. We want you to be part of our community because we think that is also very valuable to us. It's not like you just buy it and you go, okay, you're on your own, but we want you to bring you into our community.
Right. So, if we have somebody who's watching this, right, and they're like, man, I think I really want to try it out. I already know this answer, but I'm going to pitch it over to you. Well, just because you're a Marine and Marines like attention. So, so how would somebody go about ordering their Keto OS?
Well, typically there's a link. We have a little link that you can click on it and order. I don't know if you're going to have the link below this video or not, Dom, but there's a link you click on, and then when you go to order it, you can choose like what pack you want. You can choose 30 servings, which is what I recommend. You can actually, like you said, you can buy 3 servings, 60 servings, 75. We even have some really cool, better bundles, which is my favorite thing because you get this extra coffee creamer, and we have caffeine and caffeine free. All I have is caffeine free here. If you're not well with caffeine, you don't do well with caffeine, or you already drink a lot, you maybe just choose the non-caff. Some people use caffeine in the morning and caffeine at night, and I typically recommend people to really watch that caffeine version. And then you go to checkout and you pay for your product and you get it. And then typically we're going to reach back to you and send you an email and say, hey, welcome. And how can we support you? What can we do to help? Do we need to get on the phone with you and talk? Here's how to use the product. I typically have people start out for the first few days at a half a serving. I like a lot of water. I like to do a full thing of water with ice, but some people may just do, 12 ounces. And then that's how you order. Get back to the person. If somebody that invite you to this webinar or this video, get back to them and tell them that, hey, I want that link. I want to order that product.
Right. Okay. So let me just recap kind of all this whole webinar, and let's see if I can do it. Let's see if my cognitive function's up to speed. So by inducing ketosis or being in nutritional ketosis, our body's producing ketones, or we can drink our ketones. That increases, I like saying GABA, or is it GABA? GABA?
I use GABA.
Yeah, GABA do. Right. So it increases the GABA, right? Kind of relaxes you. It's a neurotransmitter, kind of makes us feel a little better. It does a lot of really cool stuff, which can help with the symptoms of depression. And if you want to try Keto OS, I strongly recommend at least 30 days. You can either, if somebody sent you this link, go back to that person and talk to them. Or at the bottom of this video on the YouTube channel, there'll be 2 different links, well, 3 different links, because usually we have another gentleman on here. There'll be a link and an email for myself, Dom Tischer, an email and a link for Dustin Schaefer. Go ahead and say something. I don't think you pop up. Anyways.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nate?
That's Dustin Schaefer. And then there's another one for Javier Castro. He wasn't feeling very well today, so he wasn't able to join us. So, you have your options of where you can purchase this, but the most important thing is to get it, to take it, to be consistent with it, and then join into the community. And Dustin and myself and Javier and others will be here to support you and help you in the best way that we can. So that's all I have. Dustin, do you have anything else?
That's it, sir. I appreciate being on, and I can't wait till the next one.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time as always, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
All right.